All right, this is the first really big topic. Everything else has been a couple of points on the test, but this will probably constitute a big chunk of the test, and that's applications with percents. So now that we've sort of defined what a percent is, how is it used in real life, and right, how do we get those answers? The very basic questions are like the one that's written here. What is 16% of 64? These come down to an easy translation question. We've seen this before in class. The of and the is are the two key words we need. Is, in terms of mathematics, is an equal sign. And of is a way to say multiplication. So once we have those two pieces, bringing the rest of this down is straightforward as well. What is our unknown? It's our x. 64 is just 64. The only place that we could get in trouble is with that 16%. Now, if you have the TI-36X Pro, you can actually type in 36% because there's a percent button. I personally find it easiest to always convert my percents into decimals. So I would write this down as 0.16 after moving my decimal place to the left, right? So that's what I would do. And then all I have to do is type that into my calculator and get that this is 10.24. So x is equal to 10.24, and I am done. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you two more examples to try on your own. The other two ways this could be worded. All right, so here are two new questions. If you want, in fact, I encourage you, take a moment, pause the video, see if you can come up with the right answers on your own. So having worked these yourselves, you should have done the exact same thing I did. Find our keywords, bring them down and turn them into a math symbol, and then bring down your numbers. Ooh, that was supposed to be blue. So like my colors. In the first example here, there was nothing to bring down as a decimal or do anything with because the thing we are missing is the percent. That's going to be our x. And we do have to do a little bit of solving. Right now we have x times 32 is equal to 52. So this is what makes this a really nice question because not only is it requiring you to do this translation and work with percents, but it's making you do a little bit of solving as well. So it's the next topic. So we want to get x by itself. Since it's being multiplied, we're going to divide to undo that. And so we get that x is equal to whatever the heck 52 over 32 is. Now, we want to give our answer as a percent, so we need to first turn this thing into a decimal, right? So type this into our calculator. We find out that 52 divided by 32, according to my phone calculator, is 1.625. Now, again, we're not all the way there yet. We want a percent, and this is not a percent, right? It's a decimal. So we need to move one more step. We can either do that little train track thing and say, okay, I need to get the percent symbol back, so let me do my 1 and 100% conversion, or I just move my decimal place 2 over 162.5%. And this may seem a little weird to have this percentage that's bigger than 100, but this makes sense because our part 50 was bigger than our whole of 32. So there we go. All right, so our last question here is the only other way this can go. Again, we'll just translate by bringing down our is and of as an equals and a multiplication, and then bringing down all of the rest of this. So I've got my 21, I'll write my percent as a decimal, and my unknown as an x. Just like the last question, I have some multiplication that I have to clear using division. And if I just type that in my calculator, I get that x is equal to 70. So those are all three ways. In this case, we were looking for the whole. Here we were looking for the part. And here we were looking for the percent itself. So that's all three ways that this question can go. Now I'm going to give us a couple of examples here where we put some context in. So it's going to be a little bit trickier to find everything, but more like what you would have in real life. This is an example that translates exactly the same way, but is much more complicated because we've got an application. We had to figure out what goes where. So we still have our of, and in this case, instead of is, we have are, which is the same thing when we have plural, right? So 16% of dogs in a puppy class are American Eskimos. So if we were to translate this, we would have a little bit more trouble, but we could still translate it, right? So we got our different pieces. So if I translated this 0.16 times, and it would just be dogs in the class, right, is equal to these American Eskimos. I could just translate that first sentence. That's all that first sentence says. Okay, 16% of the dogs, no, remind me tomorrow, are American Eskimos. Then we keep reading. There are 25 dogs in the class. Oh, crap, looks like we know this. This is just 25. And we read some more, and it says, how many are American Eskimos? That's our unknown. Great, this is just our x. We now have our equation. All I need to do is multiply 0.16 by 25, which I should be able to do in my head, but I can't. So after consulting my phone, we get 4 is equal to x, and if we were really good in these word problem type situations, we actually write our answer out in a nice full sentence. So we write that there are, ooh, it's a weird way to write there with a little space. There are 4 American Eskimos in puppy class. You can tell I did not write this question because it's about puppies instead of kittens. I grabbed it from your book. But it's still cute because they're puppies. All right, so that's our answer there. 4 American Eskimos in the puppy class. All right, so I'll get you guys one more of these to try on your own. Here's the example for you to try. Take a moment, pause the video, and attempt this on your own. Now, I can see one place that you might have gotten in trouble. If you were super just wanted to circle your things, you might get confused here and have your of circled there. And then you might try to bring down the 1, the 25%, and get in trouble. However, this is the of that matters, the 25% of. This 1 serving of pasta sauce is 1, oh no, I did this again. Oh no, I made it huge. Terrible, terrible things. There we almost go. Cool. This 1 serving of pasta sauce is the thing that we are talking about, right? We even talk about it here, 1 serving of pasta sauce. This is the part of the whole that we're talking about. So don't get distracted by that of in the first sentence. We have our 25%. Contains is our current stand-in for is. So this particular question was trickier. Hopefully you tried it on your own, because contains is another way to say this is the amount, right? And then the amount, the whole that we care about here, is the recommended daily amount of sodium, which happens to be 2,400. So now that I've sort of translated all of that, figured out what it is that we're looking for, this is what we want. And then that's 25% of this total here. We kind of have a place to start. So the thing I'm looking for is 25%, which I'll rewrite as a decimal, of the whole amount of daily recommended sodium, 2,400. So one other way that students will set up these types of questions, as opposed to using of and is, especially in a question like this where those pieces are missing, is to instead think of your percent this way. Part over whole is equal to, I don't know why I crossed my L in whole, that's weird. Part over whole is equal to our percent over 100. And that percent then as the whole number. So in this case, you just have to think, okay, the pasta sauce is part of this overall whole. And that can make life a lot easier. So in that case, you'd be setting up, oops, our unknown is over the whole amount of the daily recommended sodium. Well, that's 25 out of the 100. And you can kind of cross multiply or solve the equation that you see here, and you get to the same place, right? Because if I see that x is being divided by 2,400, the way to undo that is to multiply by 2,400, and there you see I'm going to multiply the percent of 25 or 0.25 by 2,400, just like we did in our of is translation. So if you get confused about of is, this is another method that you can use to get to the answer. So either way, I need to figure out what 25% or a fourth of this is, which should be 600. And of course, at the very least, we need to put some units on that. Even better, we write out there are 600 milligrams in one serving. And I should have written of sodium, but I'm being lazy. Pasta sauce. Hooray! Alright, so that's it for this video. I'll make a separate video with some of the discount markup type questions that you might see on the test as well. But they're pretty straightforward.